Hello, everyone, and welcome to the local plan information video. This will give you some more details on the Regulation 18 consultation, which is taking place right now. So I have here Dave and Simon. So I'll hand over to Dave first, and then Simon to introduce yourselves. So over to yourself, Dave, first of all.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Dave Harris. I'm the Chief Planning Officer at Medway Council, responsible for the planning service, often referred to as Dave from Planning.
Hi,
Thanks,
my name
Dave.
is Simon Curry. I'm a councillor for Luton in the middle of Chatham, and I'm the council's cabinet portfolio holder for climate change and strategic regeneration, which includes the local plan.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, both. We are at consultation stage then on the emerging local plan. So started on Monday, the 18th of September. And we've had a really good start. Responses coming in already online, so excellent. And yeah, very important document outlining the growth of Medway up to 2040, identifying opportunities and development where it could take place, where it should be restricted. And it's really important to outline that it's not just about building houses. It's also about the fact that we have a plan in place to outline where the right infrastructure should be. School improvements, health services, protecting our local environment, improving access to green spaces, creating more employment opportunities, and maintaining those historic sites as well, which make us proud to live in Medway. So it impacts on everyone, whether you're a student, whether you're about to retire, and we want to hear from you on the emerging plan and the vision and the priorities at this stage that make up that plan moving forward. So I'm going to hand over to Dave, who's going to give you a bit more of an outline in terms of what the local plan is and what's happening during this consultation stage. Over to you, Dave.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you very much for that introduction. And as you say, we have started our consultation program already on what's called our Regulation 18. That's the looking at the vision and the options for us moving forward, effectively setting the direction for Medway going up to 2040. And it's a precursor to a draft plan which will come out following this consultation, the responses to it, and that will come out in the spring of next year in terms of our draft plan. Now the local plan is about setting the direction for Medway and its growth and its and how Medway will be going up to 2040. So the consultation started on Monday of this week, and we're consulting on our ambitions for the new local plan and the options of how Medway can grow. And there are a number of options for us. And it's, as Kevin said earlier, it's about more than just housing, where that growth should be. It's about employment. It's about protecting what is wonderful about Medway in terms of that natural and historic environment as well, and providing the right infrastructure to serve that growth in a sustainable way. So this consultation document sets out the broad vision and objectives, and I'll come on to that in a minute, in terms of Medway's future, along with the broad locations which are options for us in relation to homes, jobs, and services. So we're not allocating any sites in this local plan. This is about what options we've got in front of us and seeking your views on those. And your views and your comments, the responses to this consultation from everybody will help to shape the priorities for the new plan. So I say everybody, that is from school children, from university people, from every person who lives in or works in Medway, from businesses as well, from communities. We want to hear from everybody what you feel, what you think are the priorities and the way forward for our local plan. So first off is about the vision for Medway up to 2040. We very much see it as being a leading regional city, connected to surrounding coast and countryside. We're a wonderful place, which is very, urban in part, but which is rural in part. And we've got the river running through us, and we're not far from the coast and the Thames Gateway area as well. We're also about developing a thriving economy. We don't want to be a commuter town. We want a thriving economy where we want to attract new business, to develop existing business, get new investment in Medway, be at the forefront of innovation and creativity, to lead on that green growth and technology, which is so important in this day and age, that excellent digital connectivity, but also about regeneration of our high streets, some of which are struggling a wee bit at the moment, but let's look and see how they can get a new identity, become the vibrant centres that they were before, but in a different way. We also want Medway to be an area where our residents enjoy a good quality of life. That includes decent places to live, high quality places to live, but healthy, so people are comfortable moving about our area, not just in a car, but in a more sustainable way, be it using public transport, be it walking, be it cycling, and enjoying those ways of moving around, making the most of our natural areas, so that people really enjoy and shout out about the quality of what life is living in Medway. And then about strengthening our environment. It is about that climate change. It's about moving forward in terms of energy efficiency, looking after the environment, and that includes the natural environment. There's a lot of wonderful areas in Medway which are very precious to us, of international and national importance for wildlife and the environment. So that's the vision. And we need to then look at what are the objectives for the plan going forward, and we want to hear your views on those objectives. So I've touched a little bit on some of those. Preparing for a sustainable and green future. We've got a climate emergency in Medway and in the country. We need to be coming up with a plan which is promoting carbon reduction, which is looking towards zero carbon indeed. We want to strengthen and develop our transport networks, making it safer and easier for people to move about using sustainable forms of travel. We want to build on the wonderful green and blue infrastructure network that exists across the land and water in Medway. And we want to effective management of our natural resources. Then we want to support people to lead healthier lives and strengthen those communities. We have some wonderful communities in Medway, and we need to foster those and get people building on those communities and living and working together. So it's about developing high quality, energy efficient homes that meet the needs of the area. If people are living in high quality, energy efficient homes, their bills will come down, they will be financially more stable, and they'll be happier and therefore healthier as a result of that. Linked to that, we want to introduce to reduce actually the inequalities in health and deliver better outcomes to our residents. We have a very mixed and diverse communities, and very mixed areas where we have some which are struggling and some which are more affluent, and we need to reduce those inequalities between the two, and provide greater opportunities for increased physical activity and mental well-being for our residents. And then we have some wonderful but good urban neighbourhood and village centres, linked to also a number of the communities that are developing. So how can we give those centres an identity? How can we make them more vibrant, provide more for the communities in which they sit? And then finally, boosting pride in Medway. I want everybody to feel as proud to live, to work to visit, to learn in Medway, as I and my family have been. As part of that, we need to boost the performance of our local economy. We need people to have jobs, high quality jobs that they enjoy doing and providing the skills for that. We need to build on our existing strengths and expertise in areas such as engineering, energy and creative industries. Let's build on that. Improve the skills. We've got some wonderful schools and universities in Medway. Let's work with them and find a way to utilize the skills that are coming out of there. So the students coming out of our universities, let's retain them in Medway. Let's become get a reputation as a centre for learning and student base. We also need to deliver the infrastructure that's necessary for that growth, for that business growth. And then we need to support the growth in tourism, both within our urban areas, our historic areas, but also out on the peninsula, where we have a stunning natural area, which could be so wonderful and is wonderful for tourism. And let's develop our cultural and creative industries as well. We want that good quality, effective infrastructure, delivering sustainable development. We need to build on the wonderful regeneration that's happened in Medway over the last 10, 20, 30 years, and to continue that and to lift the standards of sustainability and the quality development in all our new developments. So that's the objectives that we've got, those 4 key ones there, which link back to the vision. How are we moving forward on that? Well, in terms of moving forward, well, we've done what's called a call for sites. So we need to plan for our growth, and that's in relation to housing and employment. We did a call for sites for those landowners, those developers, those stakeholders who have sites that they think may be considered for development coming from, and to be part of that growth coming up to 2040. And that would help us to build a spatial strategy, which we want you to comment upon. And what you see on this slide here are the various sites in orange there that have been put forward for consideration. None of these are currently allocated for development. They're all sites that have been put forward for consideration. And I'm going to talk through it shortly how we've grouped them together, and I'm asking for your thoughts in terms of what is the appropriate spatial strategy for us moving forward. And it might be a mix of several of those. Now, as Kevin said right at the beginning, the local plan is not just about housing. It's far, far more than that. But I know that a lot of people, one of the things that they think about when they about Medway's growth is they think about housing. And that's important. And we need to consider our local housing needs. And there are 2 factors there. One is in terms of number of new dwellings that we need over the local plan period. And then the other is in terms of, well, what is that local need? That's the number. How is that divided down into need? So in relation to number, our local housing need is currently derived from a government set standard methodology. And that comes out with a figure of number of dwellings that are needed to be provided a year. And then we calculate that over the local plan period. So the government calculation says that we need 1,667 dwellings a year. Over the local plan period, up to 2040, that equates to 28,339 dwellings. We then need to add a little bit of a buffer to that, a 5% buffer, to take account of those sites which, although allocated, don't come forward. So that then brings us to around about 29,000 houses, or new dwellings, I should say, which are needed over the local plan period. Now then, if we look at the other graph, we can see how that's broken down. We've got 7,583, which are currently in the pipeline. So these are sites which have planning permission at the moment, but haven't been completely built out. So that gives us that 7,500 figure. Then there are 3,000, the figure in the blue there, of sites which will come forward, what we call windfall sites. So these are sites which are not currently allocated, but for whatever reason come forward through the local plan period for development. So if we take the 3,000 and the 7,500 away from the 29,000, that gives us the figure of our housing need for new sites that we need to aspire to achieve. And that's 19,173. Now, the previous slide that I showed, the spatial strategy, the sites that have been put forward to people show around about 36,000 dwellings could be achieved on those sites which have been suggested to us. Our need is 19,000. So in terms of a plan, we've got to aspire, and I say aspire, to delivering about 50% of those sites. That's our starting point. What we now need to do is planning towards that is to produce the evidence base to see if we can achieve that. And we'll need to look at things like the infrastructure, the services, to see if it's actually achievable. And I'll come on to the constraints later in this presentation. The next thing in terms of housing need is what's actually required in our area. And that, as Kevin's touched on earlier, that will be starter homes, first homes. It will be small family units, larger family units. It will be special needs accommodation. It will be for downsizers. It will be homes which are adding to the character of some of our settlements and our villages and our urban area. And it'll be a mix of flats and houses of various different types. But we need to do that work to identify what our need is, rather than it necessarily being dictated to by what the development sector feels we should have, rather than what we need. So in terms of those housing needs, what are our options for consideration in terms of where that development could go? There are 4 broad options that we'd like your comments on. The first is urban regeneration, looking at our town centres, bringing more residential back into those town centres to add to that vitality. And by bringing those increased residents back into those town centres, there'll be a demand for new services, be it for leisure, be it for cultural, be it for employment, be it for retail, be it for evening restaurants and what food and beverages. So helping to re-establish the vitality and giving those centres a new and fresh identity. And then continuing to build on the regeneration of our riverside areas, which have been going on for the last 10, 20, 30 years. And then also looking at some of our brownfield sites which are underused, sites which could come forward for development and add to the attractiveness of our area. So if we look at the next slide here, this gives an idea as to what we potentially could look at through that urban regeneration. So town centres where people want to come, want to enjoy coming, where there is open space. It shouldn't just be about building. It's about that green, bring that greenness into the town centres, places for people to congregate, to meet and to enjoy in those town centres. And then the bottom part is about those new homes that I've talked about. This next slide shows an idea as to Chatham about how it could develop into this really vibrant centre during the day and into the evening, where people enjoy and want to go, a place to work, a place to shop, a place to go for entertainment, a place to meet and socialise. And then the next slide shows how possibly Medway is already starting to do many of those things. The top slide here could well be Chatham waterfront now. As you come out of the centre of Chatham and you're moving down to the riverfront and you're looking out over the river towards Medway City Estate, you have those seating areas, that landscaping, again, that place to enjoy the riverside, enjoy the green landscape. This area here could very much be the Strand, the leisure centre at Gillingham, linking to the riverfront there, and allowing people to enjoy being by the river, bringing their children and enjoying that leisure activity. Then we've got an area here which could very well be a place like Chatham Waters, which is actually in Gillingham, where you've got residential, you've got a boardwalk, you've got cafes which will spill out onto that boardwalk, looking out over the river, looking out over dock edges. And then we have some riverside development areas. Could well be Rochester Riverside, the new play area, an open space that's recently opened in Rochester Riverside. Is not very different from this, where residents are able to come out and enjoy that open space overlooking the riverside. And then, as I said, our river has changed over the years, where it's now we're encouraging more people to have access to the river, to walk along it, to enjoy it. So we could see a lot more of these boardwalks with planting happening alongside the river. Then we move on to the second option, which is about suburban expansion. And that's something where it's traditionally been the way of expanding settlements and towns over the decades. And certainly that's what's happened in Medway. And it's an option to us. We have sites which have been put forward there in North Rainham, in East Rainham, and in Capstone for our consideration. Are they appropriate? Are they not appropriate? What we do know, though, is if they do come forward, then they need to be more than just about housing. They need to provide for community facilities, for schools, for health facilities, as well as residential, which is healthy, which is green, but which is appropriate to that location, responds to the character of that location, and isn't something which can be seen anywhere else necessarily, or necessarily all over the country. Some of the housing estates that we have seen going up all around the country. Then the third area for us to consider is one of rural development, and that predominantly relates to the Hoop Peninsula. And you can see the sites which have been suggested being put forward there, out at Cliff Woods, around Chatton and Hoo, and then out towards High Howstow, Stokes, and All Hallows, the sites which have been put forward. And then further away, we've got some sites more towards Borstal area. Now, that's an option for us. But what we need to do is, if those sites come forward, then we need to make sure that they're being undertaken in a sustainable way. We know that they're not going to be as close to bus stations, to train stations as maybe some of the urban areas are, as close to town centres. But we need them to come forward in a more sustainable way, in a way where linking to the 15-minute city, where you're only 15 minutes walk away from a number of services. Not everything, but a number of services, so that you feel that you don't need to get in your car, that you can walk to these various areas. It could be some shops, some daily shops. It could be a leisure centre. It could be a doctor's surgery. It could be schools. You can not far from those. But also, in terms of design and layout, it needs to be in a way which encourages people to get out, to walk, to cycle to places, but also connected through enhanced public transport systems as well. And what we need, if that development of the peninsula is to happen, is development which is respectful of that character, that wonderful rural character that we've got out on the peninsula, making the most of that stunning countryside, the wonderful views, and being sensitive to that, but also providing, as I said, those services and facilities that you need, like those community facilities, the schools, the healthy living centres, the libraries, and so on. Then the final area for us to look at is the potential for some greenbelt release. Now, Medway hasn't got a lot of greenbelt. What it has is the outskirts of the London greenbelt, which is a function to protect that outward spiral of development from London into the suburbs and the surrounding areas. Areas like Gravesham, Sevenoaks have a much larger area of greenbelt than we have. And you can see there on that plan that the main area of greenbelt is around Horling, Cuxton, with some around the Strood area. The government policy at the moment is to look at greenbelt release last. Now there is some potential for some greenbelt sites to come forward, particularly if they relate to underused or brownfield sites within those areas. And you can see in the buff colour the sites which have been put forward by landowners for consideration as part of our plan. And then I wanted to touch on the fact and remind that it's not just about housing. We need to look at employment. We don't want Medway to be a commuterville. So we've got some sites out at Kingsnorth and Grain, which are there already and could be expanded and could be developed and could have the regeneration of them to bring them back to an employment use, which will benefit those areas. But actually could provide some local employment there to those communities, particularly those communities which are around there. And then we've got some other sites, Medway Valley Park, down at Strood towards the M2, and we've got the potential for further expansion around Rochester Airfield as well. So I've touched on much of these. There are lots of opportunities for us. It's quite exciting thinking about how Medway can grow. And I'm sure a lot of you will have some great ideas in terms of what your thoughts are, in terms of what the opportunities are, how you would like to see Medway develop. So our opportunities in this plan are about refreshing our vision, taking a step back. What is our vision going forward? And we've set what our thoughts are on that. We'd welcome your views on that. And then what are our objectives, which line up to the council's ambitions? Again, I've gone through those. Welcome your thoughts on that. We've been going through significant regeneration, particularly along our riverside and waterfront areas and our town centres. We've been very successful in securing investment for that. There are plenty of more opportunities to continue that and bring that investment in, which could also help benefit our town centres as well from knock-on and those connectivity links to those centres. We need to plan at a strategic scale for sustainable development. So let's plan for it rather than it being imposed on us. So let's plan for it in a way that housing, the growth, is supported by new services, by the jobs, making us more sustainable. We need to address climate change within the local plan. There's an opportunity here in our plan to have policies, to come up with a plan which potentially it goes as close as we can to being zero carbon. We've got an opportunity to provide a mix of new homes, as I said, homes that we in Medway need of the quality, providing a choice, providing homes to meet our needs, rather than it being dictated to us by the development industry. And then there's that potential for further economic development, building on the great diversification that we've seen over the last 20 years. However, we have constraints, we have challenges in Medway, and we need to face them up, and just see how we can address those. As I said earlier in this, there is a huge level of housing need in Medway. The average age of the first-time buyer is 37. That's nationally. Medway is reflective of that as well. We need to bring that down for Medway to provide those homes that youngsters need, that young couples need, that families need as well. But that high level of housing, and also allow for people to downsize from a large family home to a smaller home, but of similar or the same quality, then freeing up that family home which is needed by others. But that high level of housing need will have a major impact across Medway. How can we best plan for that? Now, in best planning for it, there will be transport impacts. As much as we are aspiring to improving sustainability, improving those sustainable transport across Medway, those bus links, the walking, the cycling, the connectivity, bringing the river in, as much as we're working on that, there will be transport impacts. And as a result of that, we need to look at the mitigations of those, what they cost, and how that can be met. Those infrastructure pressures may not be able to be addressed just through contributions from developers. We may need to look at funding from elsewhere. Now, there are environmental constraints. Climate change brings with it increased sea levels, river levels, potential for flooding. We need to be very careful, think about that. We've also got some wonderful parts of Medway. We've got sites of special scientific interest. We've got Ramsar sites of international importance. We need to protect those, and that therefore limits where new development can go. There is ongoing uncertainty in relation to national planning policy. Seems to be constantly changing. We've got about 30 consultations at the moment from government, with more in the pipeline. There is that uncertainty. We've got to try and plan a way through that. We can't wait because it's constant. So we've got to keep going, but be cognizant of that change that is happening. And then finally, there is the high delivery rates of house building needed. Now, I touched on the fact at the moment, using the government methodology, we need 1,667 dwellings a year. That's an awful lot. In Medway, we've never achieved that in any year. In the last 3 years, in a boom period, we've achieved 1,100, 1,200 dwellings a year, but we've never got to 1,600. But that's the target that we've been told we've got to try and meet. So how do we find a way to get closer to that delivery to meet the needs of the people of Medway? Thank you. Shall I stop sharing? Because I was then going to go on to marketing, Kevin, but do you want me to continue?
Thank you very much, Dave. That's fine. You can stop sharing your screen. That was absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much. Really extensive insight there into the local plan, what it covers, what this consultation is about. And yeah, we hope obviously you found that really informative. So thank you very much, Dave. We've been having already quite a few questions come through to us from the general public through a number of different channels, including social media. So we've got a few questions from local residents that we just wanted to kind of put across to you to get some answers on. So first of all, Chris has asked us about will this local plan include dealing with antisocial behaviour? So yeah, could you kind of explain a bit more about that, please?
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. I think the answer to that, in terms of antisocial behaviour, the local plan won't have all the answers to that. What it can do, though, is help towards dealing with those issues. In terms of our new developments coming forward, secure by design, planning them in a way which encourages that natural surveillance, encourages people to come out of their properties, to walk around, to enjoy their area, will help to deter antisocial behaviour. But also planning for communities and providing the services and the facilities that those communities need, again, may help those communities deal themselves with some of that antisocial behaviour. And then in relation to our town centres, bringing more residential into those town centres, and the demand that will come from that in terms of services and facilities 24 hours a day will then bring people into those centres who are there for the right reasons and deter those people who may be there for the wrong reasons. Councillor Curry, do you want to add to that at all?
Yeah, thanks, David. Thanks very much for that really comprehensive sort of breakdown of what the plan contains. I think in relation to the point about antisocial behaviour, one of the 5 key elements of our vision for this local plan is about community. And I think that developing that sense of community, developing that sense of belonging is key to the way we're taking forward this plan. And that leads to lower levels of antisocial behaviour. We've got communities from all over the world, from every age group, a really high diversity of different cultures and different kinds of people in our area, who we really welcome and celebrate that kind of range of diversity in our community. And within that, we all want to feel safe and secure. And I think that developing that sense of security is part of how we have our community structures working. So it's about how we create our public realm and how we use it, the parks and the infrastructure that go around, access to green spaces, access to shops and services, the nightlife that we have, all those features which will become part and parcel of the delivery of the local plan. Within the context of those, it's about how we make people feel safe and secure at the same time. And I think that mainly comes through that sense of developing that community spirit that we all love in Medway.
So thank you very much both. That's really great answers there. So thank you indeed, very much indeed. Let's go on to health. So we've had quite a few comments come through around public health in Medway, some particularly around Medway Hospital. How does health factor into our new local plan? So shall I hand it on to yourself, Councillor Curry?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Kevin. I mean, I think one of the key elements of it is about prevention. Prevention of ill health, if you like. I mean, this is one of the elements that we're looking at as our health and wellbeing board within the council. And I think one aspect we know of is we do have a serious number of health issues in Medway. Obesity is a problem, issues around people's active lives and stuff like that. So the kind of lifestyle that we want people to have within Medway will lead to a much healthier community. Things like public transport and active travel, better cycleways, the 15-minute community that Dave referred to in his presentation, that kind of thing leads to people being much more active, getting up off the couch and getting out and enjoying the environment around us, better access to parks and open spaces. That leads to people being healthier and more active in so many different ways. And the element in there that comes into play as well is mental health and well-being, and that sense of feeling that you're in a good place. Again, that comes through active travel and a sort of a more dynamic lifestyle, if you like. So some of the things that will come through from the local plan is how we build that in terms of our health and well-being for our community. And I think there may be other issues around where we might place some of our buildings and stuff like that, you know, in terms of how that develops well. But I don't know, David, if you've got any further comments in that respect.
I 100% agree with everything you've said, Councillor Curry. I think in terms of new development, you're absolutely right. If we can come up with, if we can require, and we will require new development to be energy efficient, to respond to climate change, actually in the homes, but also be of a size internally and laid out internally in a way which is easy to use, that people enjoy living in, but also where their bills are low, and therefore that helps them financially. And if they help financially, it helps to reduce some of the stress and the strains on them. So they're happy in their home. And that links to then the point that Councillor Curry was saying, that where if we get the new development right, and people are feel comfortable coming out of that home to walk around, to walk to services, close to parks, to see trees, they're then healthier physically and mentally. And then that helps to reduce some of the pressure on our health service.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. And I think one aspect of that, which I think is really fundamental, is about the quality of our air. One of the things that we have a problem of in Medway is air quality, primarily produced by traffic pollution, but also coming from the emissions from our homes. A lot of people, most people have gas boilers, and they emit a lot of emissions across home. And our industry and our businesses contribute to this problem as well. So one of the aspects of our environmental strategy moving forward as part of the local plan is how we address those issues around air pollution, how we tackle the problems that we have from too much congestion. So that's about transport planning and how we encourage people to use public transport rather than having to go in their car all the time. And that comes down to, where do we put our services? Where do we put our sort of health services? Where do our leisure facilities lie? If they're a drive away, then people will drive. If they're a walk away, then people won't use their car so much. And that aspect of health is part of the feature of the local plan. If you remember what Dave was saying about the plan, it's up to 2040. This is about this generation, the next generation, and the generation after that, of young people living in the area, growing up, having their own families, staying here, working here, not becoming a commuter town for London, which is often how people are referred to. But people want to live and work and raise their families and have their lives here in Medway. And that's what we're after. It's an exciting and lovely place to live. We need to make the air breathable. And a lot of problems with young people through schools, as we're finding, is that the air that they're breathing as they're growing up is compromising their lungs. And we want that to stop. And it's quite an urgent issue. It's being tackled through our health services and through our various other organisations that we work with. But it's part of the local plan's sort of strategy to create that healthier lifestyle, is to make an atmosphere that's better for people to breathe as well.
Thank you very much, both. Really extensive answers again there, so thank you. Let's just touch on high streets. Sue Goody has asked us about Gillingham High Street. Would like the High Street to be considered for more funding to make it a more pleasant place to shop, particularly to provide more choice in terms of shops. We were unsuccessful, I think, last year with levelling up funding bid for Gillingham and Gillingham High Street, but there's obviously still aspiration to regenerate the high street. There's obviously a lot of work going on in Chatham at the moment as well, and we've got obviously high streets across Medway. How important is it to maintain and improve our high street offering over the next 15 plus years, up to 2040? So I'll put one to Dave first of all.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. I think it's definitely more than maintain. I think it's improve and enhance, and it's really, really important. I just did want to touch on the levelling up fund that you mentioned. Yes, we weren't successful. That wasn't because our bid wasn't exceptionally good. It was exceptionally good. We were then told that the reason we were unsuccessful was because we'd got funding for other schemes in levelling up 1, and therefore we weren't ever going to be successful in levelling up 2. That bid, that proposal, is still exceptionally good, and we will be looking at that, seeing if we can improve it further, so that if there was future bids coming up, which there will likely be, we can resubmit that, because Gillingham is incredibly important to us. All our town centres are incredibly important. And part of what Councillor Curry and I have touched on is the local plan is about town centre regeneration, about revitalising our town centres, giving them a new lease of life. We know they're not going to be the regional shopping centres that they were in the past, because retail has changed. But how can we give them that new identity and make them attractive places again for people? And part of that is bringing in more residential into those town centres, and with that more residential, we not only deal with that antisocial behaviour aspect that you touched on before, but also that new residential will bring a demand for new services, for new facilities there, be it food and beverage, be it leisure, be it new shops, be it for co-working areas and so on. So bringing some more life and activity into those town centres and giving them that energy again. Now, linked to that, and again, it touches on the points that Councillor Curry made so well. If we can improve the connectivity from our regeneration sites up to those town centres, so that it's easy for people to get there, and attractive for people to get there by bike, by walking, by public transport, then again, we help to encourage that more people to go in those town centres and bring more life and activity to them.
Yeah, and I'll just sort of add into that one of the parts of what we're trying to do is to work in collaboration with the community. A big part of our new authority here in Medway since May this year has been trying to join and gain as much input from the community as possible, from the public as possible. Hence the need to consult on this local plan and get people's views. And it's really vital that as many people engage as possible, and by signing up through the website or by going along to your local library, coming along to some of the engagement events that you'll hear more about going forward. And in relation to the high streets, one of the things we have got is a town centre board, looking at the future of all our high streets in Medway, particularly Gillingham. I mean, and this is where the collaborative working, we don't work in isolation as councillors. We've got a cabinet and we've got plenty of other members, and we all kind of get together on a regular basis in meetings and in different ways, meeting out on site as well, to talk about the future of what we want. So my colleague, Councillor Nashaba Khan, who lives in Gillingham, has done all her life, is responsible for housing, and that's something that she'll be bringing into the equation when we talk about the future of Gillingham. And equally, my councillor colleague, Lauren Edwards, who's responsible for small businesses and inward investment, she'll be bringing that expertise that she has into play. And that's how we work now as a team in Medway, as a collaborative and across the board, and in collaboration with the community. They're as much a partner of what we're trying to achieve as the rest of us. So that's what we're about in relation to Gillingham.
Thank you very much. So yeah, very exciting times in terms of regenerating our high streets, and lots to hopefully look forward to over the next few years and beyond. Let's just quickly touch on housing. So you covered it quite extensively, Dave, earlier, but just to kind of emphasise a point, it is important that we do provide a range of homes, isn't it? It's the affordable homes for first-time buyers, through to family homes, homes of greater quality. Just how important is it just to provide that range of offering to support all of our demographics across Medway?
Yeah, it's absolutely vital in terms of that quality of home, and I touched on the quality of home, and I touched on the need as well, and I've referred to the average age of first-time buyers, and we need to bring that down, because if one of the things that COVID has taught us is about overcrowding and the problems that are caused through that. So we need to provide the homes that people need, and that will link back also to health as well. But we want people to have the homes when they need it. So that, as you say, is the first time buyers. We need to address the affordability. We've got to address that. We've got to provide small homes for people, for single people, for young couples. We've got to provide them in the right locations. We've got to, as I said, deal with the climate change aspect. So yes, building regulations are improving, but let's force that on developers in terms of getting that energy efficient homes that people need, but also those internal space standards that make people enjoy the home. We don't want them people in crowded conditions. We also need to address and retrofit existing homes as well. But then moving on to, as you say, to other homes, we want to provide homes for families, so that people can move up. If they may have been in a 1 or 2 bedroom flat, and then a child comes along, they need to be able to move to a family home, and then expand further as their life changes. But then one of the problems that we face in Medway and in the country is about those large family homes where the children have all moved out, and you've just got the couple remaining in what was their family home. And why are they not downsizing? There are probably several reasons for that. 2 of the main ones are, one, they're comfortable there and the memories. The second one is they can't find a home of the same quality in terms of downsizing, which meets their needs. So they'll stay in the larger home, and then that's stopping that larger home being used by a newer growing family. So we need to address the qualitative needs of those who want to downsize. And then finally, in terms of those who need maybe a little bit of extra care, but in a way that still allows for their independence. And then finally, we've got to provide for care homes. So there's that all life prospects of people or needs that we need to meet.
Yeah, and just I'm picking up on that theme again, going back to the 5 areas that we talk about within our strategy. Homes is one of them, and we talk about homes rather than houses. And often the development companies talk about houses or housing units and things like that, make them sound like widgets from a factory almost. That's not what we're about. We're about homes and communities, creating spaces for people to have their families, as Dave was saying, to grow up and live and stay here and continue to enjoy the benefits of being a person from Medway, if you like, and a family from Medway. That's what our homes policy is all about, if you like. And I think the key underlying element of that, and I think Dave mentioned it when he was doing his presentation, is about sustainability and what do we mean by that. And I mentioned about the fact that this is for not this just this generation, but for the next and the next after that. That sustainable long-term plan and that sustainable long-term vision for Medway. And that covers 3 areas. We've talked about the environment a lot. And we've said how important that is, that cleaner and greener and better, and our contribution to the global problems. We've seen the temperatures in the southern Europe and the fires around the world, in Canada and in the USA and in Greece, obviously, as well. Those are the problems that this world is facing, and Medway can play its part in that by doing our bit for the planet as well, by making ourselves a much more sustainable environment for Medway here where we are. But equally, the other 2 elements of sustainability are about the economy, making sure that the economy is strong and growing for our future prosperity in this area, making sure that our young people have got jobs to go to in the local area. So we need to be making sure that's a growing economy. And around that, we're talking about green economy in particular. There's loads of jobs. I mean, they've mentioned retrofitting your homes to make them greener. That's a whole area of work that people can go into. There's a massive career opportunities that are being created in those areas. So there's a whole load of ideas that we have around the sustainable economy for Medway. And then finally, about community. Okay, I keep coming back to that word. It's my favourite word, really, outside of the word environment, but making communities sustainable for the long term. Know your neighbours, know your place of work, socialise with your colleagues and your friends and family, get all that aspect of community together, and then we've got a much happier and healthier place.
Thank you very much, both. Yeah, happy, healthier place. That is a fantastic outtake and an absolute key message for us, which will be pushing throughout this consultation. So both of you have lived here for over 30 years. Just to kind of finish on. What makes you feel proud to live in Medway, and why should residents be excited about Medway's future, and also all of the fantastic information you've covered during this session today?
Shall I go first? That's a good question. I mean, I moved here in 1987, the same year that Dave did, and I started work at Capstan Farm Country Park as a ranger there, and I absolutely loved my work in the country park. And it was there really that I learned about the passion that local people have for their area. We set up the volunteer group at Capstan, and ever since then, all this time later, I've been working with volunteers in Medway in all sorts of different ways, with our Green Spaces Friends groups and in the Archie's local community group in Luton, where I lived for a long time, and then now I'm the councillor for Luton as well. It's a great community, and I love it very much. And people give so much of their time and energy to looking after their friends and neighbours and their community and making it a better place. So the bit I love the best is the people and their commitment to helping each other.
I think that's a great answer, Simon. Really good answer. And as Simon says, I came here in 1987, and when I arrived, I didn't think I would stay here that long. I was thinking about my career at that time. I was thinking, right, a couple of years here, then I'll move on. And here I am, 36 years later, still here, still loving being here. And one of the things that hit me immediately that I arrived and started working was that yes, the area was a wee bit downtrodden following the closure of the dockyard in 1984. But there was a real desire to find a way to way forward from that. Those communities that Simon has touched on existed then and still exist today in different ways. But also I saw two things. I saw the potential for the area, and just how it could develop and grow and improve. But then I also saw so much which it already has in terms of out on the Hoop Peninsula, that wonderful area out there, so the natural environment, but then also the historic environment that we've got. And I just found it a fascinating place to be involved in, and I wanted to be involved with Medway going forward in the future. I wanted to, you know, from a work point of view, but also wanted to live here as well. I wanted to continue living here, and I wanted to, for my children to grow up here. And I just had this sense of pride when friends and family came from elsewhere in the country. I'd still take immense pride in showing them around and showing them places. But then Simon has also touched on, and I think he's hit the nail on the head here in terms of communities. I love where I currently live. I've lived in various parts of Medway. I currently live out in the peninsula, and when I go into the centre of where I live, and I'm always bumping into people and I'm talking to them, and I also utilise the local health centres, and I meet people there, and those communities build up from that, and those friendships build up from those things. But a couple of things that have hit me recently, which have been areas where I hadn't fully appreciated in the past. So this is the beauty of Medway. You're surprised, constantly surprised at things, but in a really positive way. Now, I've recently had a lot of engagement with the community, and Simon's touched on the Archers community out in Luton. What a wonderful community that is. Just how proud they are in the area, and what they want to do within their community, and they're all getting together, and it's such a diverse community as well. And I just thought, wow, that's incredible. Meeting these people just gave me an energy talking to them, and it gave me an energy and a pride in that area. And then more recently, I've walked about through what's called Chatham Intra, which is the area between Rochester and Chatham, and I've met the local community that are there. Again, a very diverse community, but what an amazing bunch of people they are there. So enthusiastic about their area, so knowledgeable about the history, so passionate about their area, and wanting to see change, but change in a positive way, and a change which builds on all that is amazing in terms of culture in that area. And it's those sort of, that's just two examples, but it's those sort of things which keep me keep the passion for Medway burning inside me.
And just to add into that, I mean, which town or city in the country has right next to each other an ancient castle and a beautiful cathedral as well? I mean, you can't ask for more than that, can you? Yeah. Brilliant. And we're so used to it, we get a bit blasé about it as well, don't we? But yeah, what he said is brilliant. Fantastic. Thanks, Dave.
Oh, that's really great. And yeah, fantastic. Experiences there, and a really good insight. Yeah, and I grew up in Medway, and came from Croydon, and absolutely have loved going to school throughout Medway, and sixth form, and then buying my first home in Rainham, and yeah, it's just been a fantastic journey. So yeah, there's so much to love about Medway, and yeah, this local plan setting up the future, and looking at the fantastic opportunities to grow Medway even more up to 2040. Thank you very much. Really great session. Consultation closes on Tuesday the 31st of October. To take part, visit medway.gov.uk/future Medway. You can take part via the online consultation hub, where you can read the consultation document and make comments. It's available to read as well at all of our libraries. So if you live near a library, pop down, you can pick up a copy and read it there. Can't take it away, but you can read it there. And we've also got 7 public events happening throughout October. So again, visit the website. List of events will be on there, all of the venues, dates, times, and that's your opportunity to come down, speak to the project team about any questions you have around the consultation and the proposals, which Dave obviously went through earlier in today's session. And do head down. They're free. You don't need to book. So take a look online. Thank you very much. Any final comments to add, guys, before we close?
I just want to say thank you very much, Kevin, for organising this, and thanks, Dave, for coming along. And it's been lovely to talk about these really important issues. Please, I urge everyone who's watching this to get online and do the consultation, and tell your neighbours and tell your friends to join in as well, because it's so important.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, well thanks a lot, everyone. And yes, any other questions, do email futuremedway at medway.gov.uk. But otherwise, thanks a lot, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.